All right, welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Anthropic and some pretty significant developments,
Yeah.
specifically with their Claude models.
Yeah.
They've made some significant upgrades, but the one that we're really going to dig into today is something that they are calling computer use.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty groundbreaking.
It really is. I mean, just imagine AI that can actually use a computer, like moving the mouse, clicking, typing, just like a person. It's really a whole new world of possibilities.
Okay, so before we get into the mind-blowing stuff, let's just kind of quickly cover the model upgrades. So
Sure.
first we have Claude 3.5 Sonnet.
Right.
Now, anyone who's been following AI knows that Claude was already a strong model.
Yeah.
But this upgrade, I mean, it's become a coding whiz. We're talking about significant improvements,
Yeah.
particularly in its coding abilities.
And it's not just hype. Like companies like GitLab have been testing it, for specific tasks and are finding it up to like 10% better at reasoning than previous versions, all without any slowdowns.
Wow.
This is a big deal for developers who need their AI tools to be both powerful and fast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's not just GitLab, right? There are other companies like Cognition who are using it for AI evaluations and just seeing huge improvements across the board.
Yeah.
So, right off the bat, we're seeing real-world applications of this.
Absolutely. And then there's Claude 3.5 Haiku. Now, this is a smaller, more efficient model. And you might think, okay, smaller means less powerful.
Right.
But that's actually not the case here. It's actually outperforming even larger models like Claude 3 Opus on several tasks, all while being more affordable and faster.
It's like they found a way to pack a ton of power into a smaller package.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is great news for anyone who might not have access to huge computing resources.
Right.
Plus, Haiku is another coding champion.
Oh, yeah. It's blowing other AI agents out of the water on these coding tests. So
That's great.
yeah, it's really proving itself. And this leads us perfectly into the computer use capability.
Right.
Because having a model that can understand and execute code,
Yeah.
but then also actually interact with a computer.
Yeah.
That's where things start to get really interesting.
So let's unpack this a little bit. What does it actually mean when we say that Claude can use a computer? I mean, does it have tiny little AI hands on a keyboard?
Not quite, but it's a fun image.
I know, right?
What it means is that through an API, developers can give Claude instructions. And it can then interact with the computer's interface.
Okay.
So think about it like this. You tell Claude, open a spreadsheet and find the average sales for the last quarter. And it can actually do that. It can open the application, find the data, and calculate the average all on its own.
So it's not physically using the computer.
Yeah.
But it can understand the commands and then control what happens on the screen.
Exactly.
It's essentially like having an AI assistant who can navigate the digital world for you.
Exactly. And we're already seeing this in action. Companies like Replit are using this computer use capability to build tools that evaluate apps in real time.
That's awesome.
As they're being developed. It's like having an AI quality assurance tester built right in.
So let's maybe focus in on this API for just a minute.
Sure.
Because this seems to be the key to how Claude is able to translate those instructions into actions on a computer. So can you maybe tell us a bit more about how it actually works?
Sure. Think of the API as a bridge between Claude's understanding of language and the computer's operating system.
Okay.
So developers can use this API to give Claude instructions in plain English,
Okay.
which it then translates into the specific commands the computer needs to execute those actions.
So it's almost like having a translator between human language and computer language, and Claude is the one doing the translating.
That's a great way to put it. It's all about breaking down complex tasks into steps that Claude can understand and then execute on the computer. And what's really fascinating is that this API is designed to be, relatively easy for developers to integrate into their own applications.
So this isn't some super secret, highly technical thing that only a few people can use.
No.
It's actually designed to be accessible.
That's the goal.
Which means we could see a lot of creative applications popping up soon.
Absolutely. And the potential is just huge. Just think about all the tasks we do on our computers every day.
Right.
That could be automated or streamlined with this technology.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as you mentioned, it's already being used in real world scenarios. So while it's still early days, we're already seeing how this computer use capability can just revolutionize how we interact with technology.
Exactly. And, Anthropic has been pretty transparent about the challenges they're facing, too. Certain things like scrolling are still tricky for Claude. But the fact that they're open about these challenges and actively working to improve, shows a commitment to responsible development, I think.
Absolutely, and that transparency is key, especially with a technology that's this potentially powerful.
Right.
It builds trust, it encourages collaboration,
Yeah.
which is crucial for ensuring that AI is developed and used ethically.
I couldn't agree more. This type of collaboration is what will drive the next breakthroughs.
So we've talked about the upgraded models, Claude 3.5, Sonnet, and Haiku, and how their improved coding skills play a crucial role in this computer use capability. We've also touched upon how this API works as the bridge, between those instructions and actions. But I'm curious, how do they even teach Claude to use a computer in the first place?
That's a great question, and it's something that we'll dive into a little bit more deeply after a quick break, because how they tackled that challenge is both fascinating and incredibly insightful.
All right, we'll take a quick break then, and we'll be right back to continue our deep dive.
Sounds good. Teaching a large language model to interact with a computer isn't exactly like, teaching a person. It's more about creating a system where Claude can understand instructions and then translate those into actions on the computer. It's a complex process that involves a lot of data and training.
So it's not like they're sitting there with like a digital flashcard showing Claude a picture of a mouse and saying, this is a mouse. They're using a more sophisticated approach. So what kind of data did they use to teach Claude these skills?
They essentially created a massive data set of examples showing Claude how different instructions translated to actions on a computer.
Okay.
So, for example, they might show it an instruction like, open a new browser tab, paired with the actual sequence of keystrokes and mouse movements needed to perform that action.
Oh, okay. So it's like showing Claude a ton of how-to videos, but instead of videos, it's like raw data representing those actions.
Yeah.
And by seeing, thousands, maybe millions of these examples, Claude starts to learn the patterns and relationships between instructions and actions.
It's all about pattern recognition.
Right.
And then being able to apply those patterns to new situations. And the more data they fed into Claude, the better it became at understanding and executing these computer-based tasks.
It's amazing to think about the sheer volume of data that must have been involved in this process.
Yeah.
But it also, highlights the importance of data quality.
Oh, absolutely.
And making sure that those examples are accurate and diverse.
Yeah, if you feed a model bad data or incomplete data, it's going to learn the wrong things.
Right.
So Anthropic had to be incredibly meticulous in how they curated and prepared this data set.
Now, we talked earlier about some of the challenges with computer use, particularly with actions like scrolling.
Right.
Why are these seemingly simple actions so tricky for Claude?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? You'd think something like scrolling would be straightforward. But for an AI, it's actually quite complex.
Really?
Remember, Claude isn't physically seeing the screen and moving a mouse like we do.
Right.
It's relying on data, representing the screen state, and then calculating how to interact with that data to achieve the desired result.
So it's not just about understanding the concept of scrolling.
Right.
It's about understanding how scrolling impacts the data.
Yes.
Representing the screen, and then figuring out the right sequence of commands to, achieve a smooth scroll.
Precisely. And then you have to factor in the variability of different computer interfaces.
Ahoy.
Not every website or application scrolls the same way.
Right.
Some have smooth scrolling, others have jumpy scrolling, and some have elements that react differently to scrolling.
It's like trying to teach someone how to drive a car, but every car has a different steering wheel.
Exactly.
Different pedals, different ways of accelerating and braking.
That's a great analogy. And just like learning to drive, mastering these nuances takes time and practice.
Right.
The good news is that Claude is constantly learning and improving. As Anthropic gathers more data and refines its algorithms, we can expect those tricky actions to become less tricky.
That's good. That's encouraging. So that brings us to the question of evaluation.
Okay.
How do we know how well Claude is actually doing at using a computer? How do we measure its progress?
Well, they're using a benchmark called Osworld, which is specifically designed to test how well AI models can interact with computers, like as a human would. It's a series of tasks and challenges that assess their ability to understand instructions, navigate interfaces, and execute actions accurately.
So it's like giving Claude a computer-based obstacle course.
Yeah, exactly.
And seeing how well it can, like, maneuver through the challenges. And how has Claude been performing on these tests?
Impressively well, especially Claude 3.5 Sonnet.
Okay.
It consistently outperforms other AI systems, particularly when given more complex tasks that involve multiple steps.
That's encouraging to hear. It means they're on the right track, and this technology has the potential to be truly transformative. But I imagine there are still some, like, limitations
Oh, of course.
and areas where improvement is needed.
It's still early days for this technology. While Claude can handle many computer-based tasks remarkably well, there are still areas where it struggles. And that's to be expected.
Right.
Developing an AI that can use a computer as intuitively as a human is a monumental challenge.
And it's a challenge that requires, like, a thoughtful and responsible approach.
Absolutely.
We need to be aware of the potential downsides and ethical considerations
Right.
as we develop and deploy this technology.
Absolutely. As with any powerful technology, there are risks.
Yeah.
But by acknowledging those risks, being transparent about the limitations, and focusing on ethical development, we can mitigate those risks and harness the power of this technology for good.
It's all about finding that balance between, like, pushing the boundaries of innovation,
Yeah.
while also ensuring that we're using AI responsibly and ethically. So we've established that Claude is learning and improving. It's performing well on benchmarks, and there's a clear focus on responsible development. But what does this all mean for the future? Where do we go from here?
That's the exciting part. We're really just scratching the surface of what's possible with this technology. Imagine a world where AI can seamlessly integrate into our digital lives,
Yeah.
automating tasks, streamlining workflows,
Right.
and even helping us to be more creative and productive.
It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, but it's becoming our reality.
It really is.
And with the accessibility of this API,
Right.
who knows what kind of, like, incredible applications developers will come up with.
The possibilities are truly endless. We could see AI assistants that can manage our emails, schedule appointments, and even help us with our taxes. We could see AI tools that revolutionize how we learn, create, and collaborate online.
And it's not just about, like, convenience and productivity.
Right.
This technology could also have a profound impact on accessibility, allowing people with disabilities to interact with computers in ways that were previously impossible.
Exactly. The potential benefits are vast and far-reaching.
Yeah.
But as we've discussed, it's crucial that we approach this technology with a sense of responsibility
Yeah.
and ensure that its benefits are shared widely and ethically.
It's about empowering people, not replacing them.
Right.
It's about using AI to enhance our capabilities and create a more inclusive and equitable digital world.
I agree.
But let's maybe shift gears for a moment and talk about, like, the practicality.
Sure.
We've got these amazing advancements,
Right.
but when can people actually start using them?
That's the great news. The upgraded Claude 3.5 Sonnet is already available for
Oh.
all users.
That's incredible.
And the computer use beta is available on the Anthropic API, Amazon Bedrock, and Google Cloud's Vertex AI. So if you're a developer with a great idea,
Yeah.
you can start building today.
That's so cool. And the new Claude 3.5 Haiku, with all its speed and efficiency, will be released later this month.
That's right.
So even more opportunities for innovation are right around the corner.
It's truly an exciting time to be following AI developments.
Yeah.
Anthropic's commitment to both innovation and responsibility is setting a high bar for the entire industry.
And their willingness to, like, share their progress with the world,
Yes.
to be transparent about the challenges and the potential,
Right.
is what will ultimately drive progress in the field.
I completely agree. This collaborative spirit, this open exchange of ideas and knowledge, is what will unlock the true potential of AI and shape a future where technology empowers us all.
Beautifully said. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the technical intricacies of Claude's computer use API to the broader societal and ethical implications. And I think we're ready to wrap things up with some final thoughts and key takeaways. All right, welcome back, everyone. So we've been on this quite a journey exploring Anthropic's latest advancements with Claude and its newfound ability to actually use computers. It's a lot to take in.
It is.
So I think it's good that we kind of step back now and really think about what this all means.
Yeah, I think that's key. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of the new technology, but I think it's crucial that we consider the bigger picture,
Right.
the potential benefits, the challenges, the impact it could have on our lives.
So let's start with the potential. We've kind of, touched on this throughout the episode,
Right.
but I'm curious to hear, like, your perspective. What are some of the most exciting possibilities that you see emerging from this computer use capability?
For me, it's the potential to fundamentally change how we interact with technology. Imagine a world where computers are no longer these separate devices that we have to learn to use, but rather extensions of our own intentions and desires. Like we would communicate with them naturally through language, and they could just understand and execute our requests seamlessly.
It's almost like blurring the lines between the physical and digital worlds
Yeah,
and making technology more like intuitive and accessible to
exactly.
everyone. And as we discussed earlier, that has huge implications for accessibility,
Absolutely.
making technology more inclusive for people with
Yeah,
disabilities.
absolutely. It's about breaking down those barriers and creating a more equitable digital landscape. But beyond accessibility, I also see huge potential in areas like education and creative work. Imagine AI tools that can personalize learning experiences, like adapting to individual students' needs and helping them to learn more effectively. Or imagine AI collaborators that can help us brainstorm ideas,
Yeah.
generate content and push the boundaries of our creative expression.
It's really about like augmenting our own capabilities,
Yeah.
using AI as a partner to help us achieve more, learn more, create more
Yeah.
than we ever could alone.
Mm.
And the fact that this technology is becoming increasingly accessible
Right.
through APIs, I mean, that means that we could see like an explosion of innovation in these areas.
Exactly. It's no longer just like big tech companies that
Mm.
have access to these powerful tools. Smaller developers, startups, and even individuals can now leverage this technology to build incredible applications.
Yeah. But as with any powerful tool, there are also potential downsides.
Mm.
We've talked about, the job market and the need to ensure that AI doesn't displace workers, but rather creates new opportunities.
Right.
And of course, there are the ethical considerations, ensuring that AI is developed and used responsibly.
Yeah, I think those are absolutely valid concerns. We can't just blindly embrace new technology without considering the potential consequences. It's crucial that we have open and honest conversations about these issues, that we involve diverse perspectives in the development process, and that we establish clear ethical guidelines and regulations for AI.
And I think that's where Anthropic's approach is so encouraging. Their focus on transparency, on sharing their progress and the challenges they're facing, it fosters that sense of collaboration and responsible development.
It does.
They're not just building technology in a vacuum, they're actively engaging with the broader community and seeking feedback to ensure that AI benefits everyone.
And that's exactly what we need. This isn't just a technological challenge, it's a societal challenge. We all have a role to play in shaping the future of AI, and it's through open dialogue, collaboration, and a commitment to ethical development that we can ensure that AI enhances our lives and creates a better future for everyone.
Well, I think that's a fantastic note to end on. So, for our listeners out there who are feeling inspired, maybe a little overwhelmed, but definitely curious about what the future holds, what's one key takeaway you'd like them to remember from our deep dive today?
I'd say embrace the possibilities, but don't shy away from the tough questions. Stay informed, engage in the conversation, and remember that the future of AI is not predetermined. It's being shaped right now by the choices we make and the actions we take.
That's perfect. A big thank you to you for joining us on this deep dive into Anthropic's latest advancements. And to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We hope you found this exploration insightful, thought-provoking, and maybe even a little bit mind-blowing. Until next time, keep exploring and keep learning.